Just let me know.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I can't believe another month has gone by so fast, just so quickly. So this evening, we're going to start with some trivia related to rainwater. Some of these are a little tricky, as the trivia would suggest. So for those of us who have not done trivia with us before, we have a very impartial system for answering. There is a rubber duck or a foam piece of poop on your table for wastewater, because we care about them so much. And if you think you know the answer to a trivia question, we simply ask that you gently, please don't fight with the people at your table, but you reach for your said item on your table and you're going to throw your hand up. Now, normally we say duck it with a D, but if you just want to say answer or I have it, that's fine too. It's whatever you can. So we're going to run through 3 questions tonight. This evening's prizes for those of us who are in person are actually our very fancy new Arctic hot and cold 20-ounce, I said 20 ounce, it might be 16 ounce, I might have just lied to you, 20-ounce travel mugs, highly sought after in the water department. We have to hide these for you guys quite regularly. In addition to that, we do have our City of Fort Worth water savings kits as well, that you can bring one of those home for either yourself or a neighbor or another family member if they'd like to do some leak detection at their house, so that we have those kits as well. So these are what you guys are going for. We're going to be asking 3 questions. So I'm going to start with, what are we going to start with? We'll start with number 1. Okay. What is the average rainfall in May for the city of Fort Worth? What is the average rainfall in May for the city of Fort Worth in inches? And I'm going to give you, oh, we have a ducket, okay. I like it. It's okay. 1.34 was the answer. It is higher than that, okay? It is less than 10. So we're over 1.34, we're below 10. 2.5, it's going to be a little higher than 2.5, but we're below 10. A little higher than 3, we're so close. Yes.
3.5.
Higher than 3.5, you're killing me. Can I get less than 6? We've got 3.5. Ma'am, we're going to do 5. It's 4.9 inches. Congratulations to our winner. I had no idea that this would turn. Maybe I need to begin a career in calling auctions. No, I'm just kidding. There you go. Congratulations. Okay. So May is typically the rainiest month of the year, and we get anywhere from 4.1 up to 4.9 inches of rain in May. So keep that in mind. Has anyone been feeling the flash floods lately? We love it here. Sorry. The water department's very pro-rain. Okay. That's a tricky one. This is tricky, so I will lead you to this one if we need to again. What native North Texas plant with grassy leaves is often used in rain gardens because it can handle both wet and dry soil? It is not a grass, but it looks like one. No, but you're on the right track.
Molly?
I'm sorry?
Molly?
Nope, you're on the right track though.
Sedge?
It is. Very good. So the answer was a Texas sedge, and it looks very grass-like, and I'm sure I don't know if Heather's going to talk about that, but we could talk about it later. So that is an option of a very tough plant. Okay. Because of one of our upcoming...
I'll get you your prize.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry.
Here you go.
Okay, we have vegetables on the horizon. For those who don't know, the next class is going to be on vegetables. So Danielle threw in a vegetable question. She says, this vegetable thrives in Fort Worth's fall weather. It is known to improve your soil health and specifically fixes nitrogen. Children tend to dislike it. It is a green vegetable. What is it?
Broccoli?
It's not broccoli.
Brussels sprouts?
Not Brussels sprouts.
Green beans.
Not beans. we've had broccoli, beans, and Brussels sprouts. All three of my personal favorites. All cruciferous, right? Or
Those
two
are
of
good
the three
ones, yeah.
cruciferous, yeah.
Zucchini?
It's not zucchini. Another one of my favorites, y'all. It's okay. You want to come? It's okay. I'll cycle back to you. Yes, sir. What was it?
Chard.
Chard, not chard. It's not okra. Wow, you kids are feeding your kids okra. Thank goodness my 4-year-old isn't here. It's not cucumber. Oh, they're missing it. It's not spinach. Nope, not zucchini. Not collards. Another great guess, though. You guys are, again, I'm hungry for dinner now. Are you all? Sounds like a fabulous dinner.
Cucumbers?
Not cucumbers.
Okra.
Not okra. We've had okra. Did we really not? Oh, I can't. Little kids eat them mashed. They're green. Potatoes are not, I hope, please don't eat a green potato. That's not safe.
That's a good hint.
Oh, I heard it over here.
Here you go.
Peas is the answer. Oh, everyone. But I am so proud of you guys for naming every green vegetable under the sun that can grow in Fort Worth. Clearly our classes are working. I'm thrilled. So thank you for that. All right, so we'll run this one over. Peas. Now y'all are going to go home and have some peas, right? Congratulations. Thank you. Okay. So we are going to do some class announcements for those in the room. For those joining us online, feel free to oblige if you'd like to. Keep in mind that we do need you to silence your cell phones, please. Good call. Thanks, everyone. At the end, we'll make sure to leave some time with Miss Heather for questions. So if you have a specific questions, please feel free to write it down so that you don't forget. If you really need to, I'm sure you can raise your hand. I'm sure that's okay with Miss Heather. Keep in mind that all of our upcoming seminars for this year are currently posted on savefortworthwater.org. In addition, given our fantastic speaker tonight and a good friend of mine, if you'd like to see any of TRWD's upcoming events, you can visit SaveTarrantWater.com.
You got it.
Bam, got it. So please look for both of those websites for their upcoming events to check in with either Heather or I at either of those. Keep in mind that on SaveFortWorthWater.org, you can sign up for Free Commode's free irrigation evaluations, which is very important this time of year. We actually fund it with TRWD, that's a partner program, and our free Smart Repair program, which is for low-income customers. Keep in mind that if you are on social media, you can follow us and TRWD on Facebook, Instagram, and X.
Yep.
Are you guys on X too? So all three social media platforms. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our fabulous speaker tonight. I'm so excited to see her. I haven't seen her in a couple months now. Heather Bass is a water conservation supervisor at Tarrant Regional Water District in Fort Worth. She has a master's in environmental and earth sciences and a bachelor's in biology with a focus on conservation and restoration of natural systems. Heather has conducted research on rare Texas plant populations, sustainable landscaping practices, prairie restorations, and the effects of climate change on ecosystems. Her duties at TRWD include managing outdoor water conservation projects and increasing awareness of conservation landscaping practices. Heather enjoys gardening with native plants and spending time in nature and spending time with Fort Worth Water when she can. So without further ado, here's Miss Heather.
Hi. All right. All right, are we good, Kelsey? Did you unmute my mic?
I'm sorry.
Is my mic good? Okay, wonderful. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. This is a perfect time for this class. Like Kelsey said, we just have gotten a ton of rain, and a lot of us probably have maybe some minor flooding going on in our yard, maybe some little minor puddles or things like that, and so we're going to talk about how to deal with that today. So, as Kelsey said, I'm with Tarrant Regional Water District, and so before I get started, I'm going to tell you guys about Tarrant Regional Water District. So we're your local raw water provider, and what that means is we maintain surface reservoirs or lakes that capture water and store that raw water, and then we use these giant pipes that are orange lines here on our map to pump that water primarily from our lakes in East Texas back up here. Right now, all of our lakes are full because of all the rain, which is great, but a lot of times, particularly during the summertime, our lakes up here get pretty low, and so we need those East Texas reservoirs to provide our water supply because there's just so many people here in Tarrant County. We also do flood control, so we maintain the levees and flood zones around the Trinity River here in Fort Worth, and then we also do recreation, so you know, the Trinity Trail system, we've got parks, we've got recreation opportunities with all of our lakes, you know, boating and fishing and swimming and all of those wonderful things. And so for us, like I said, we provide raw water, and so our customers are cities, like the city of Fort Worth. We pump that raw water over to their drinking water treatment plants. They treat it to drinking water standards, and then they pump it out to all of our homes and businesses. And so that's kind of how our water supply works here in Tarrant County. And we also provide water to other cities within Tarrant County as well. But as you can imagine, Fort Worth is our largest customer. And so for us, conservation is a really important water supply strategy. And so that's why I'm here talking to you today about this. I know today we're talking about having a lot of water, but you know, conservation is really important for us. Typically, with the way our climate is, we have kind of this boom and bust system, right? Where we get a lot of rain during the fall and during the springtime, but then it's super droughty during the summertime. And so typically during the summertime, about 60 to 70% of our water use all goes to outdoor irrigation. And because of inefficiencies, typically with sprinkler systems, about 50% of that on average is just wasted. And so a lot of my job, like Kelsey said, is to teach people about conservation in their landscapes and about things like sprinkler efficiency so that we can conserve water. And so, like she said, SaveTarrantWater.com, that's our water conservation facing website. You can find tons of great programs on there that we have. We've got a YouTube channel as well. Like she said, you can follow us on social media and take a look at our event calendar with tons of awesome events and classes just like this one. There's tips, there's videos, there's all kinds of fun stuff. And you can go to waterisawesome.com too. That is a regional water conservation campaign, and so that is a partnership with like us, Dallas Water Utilities, North Texas Municipal Water District, and Upper Trinity Regional Water District. And so you've probably seen those commercials, but there's a great like plant search feature on waterisawesome.com and some really cool videos and tips from there as well. And before I start, I just want to tell you about an awesome event that is going on this weekend. So this weekend, we will be on Saturday at the Arlington Esports Arena, and we're going to be having this Homeowner's Guide to Landscaping event. It's going to be awesome landscaping talks. We've got door prizes. Let me just tell y'all about some of the awesome door prizes we have. We've got rain barrels, 50-gallon rain barrels that we're giving away. We've got Go and Grow Gardens, which are 24 plants in a kit, all native plants. We've got tons of different gift certificates for local nurseries and local hardware and home improvement type of stores, sprinkler controllers, smart sprinkler controllers, and all kinds of smaller prizes too. So please come and join us. The registration is open now and it's completely free. We've also got free refreshments while you're there, and we would love to see you there on Saturday. It's at the Arlington Esports Arena, so right next to the old ballpark in Arlington, right across that little like pond thing that is there. And you can find more information if you go to the website here. You can also just go to SaveTarrantWater.com and find it on our event calendar, and you can see like the list of topics and more information. All right, so I'm going to talk to you about gardening for stormwater today. So basically what we're going to talk about the basics of gardening for stormwater, kind of what I mean by that, the different types of things that you can do. Then we're going to talk about how to create a rain garden or a bioswale. We're going to talk about some different plants, and then we're going to talk about some examples. So reasons why you might want to garden for stormwater. Well, right now, like I said, we've had a lot of rain, so you might have had some like localized flooding in your yard, or maybe some areas where water pools up, that type of thing. And so this can really help with that. But there's also kind of a larger reason, right? So we have stormwater drains, and we don't want all of that water just rushing straight from our yards not soaking down into the soil and just getting all the chemicals and fertilizers and herbicides and whatever else and gathering it and going straight into our storm drains, which goes straight to our local creeks, local lakes, local rivers, and all of that. So there's that environmental aspect of it. But also we want to keep the water that falls on our property, and we want to keep it in our soils for as long as possible. So a lot of us have slanted yards, and that water can come, it's coming hard and it's coming fast, and it will just go straight off into the street, and it doesn't soak into our clay soils as easily, and so your soils don't get rehydrated as well as they can, and that's your water that's falling on your property, right? And you want to keep it, and you want to keep it in your soils, or maybe in a rainwater harvesting system or something like that, so that you can use it, or your plants can use it when it's summertime and we're not getting all the water. So helps recharge our groundwater, of course, and all of that. So there's kind of more personalized, localized benefits, and then environmental, larger benefits as well. So we're going to talk about a few different, what I call rainscapes today. So we're going to talk about bioswales, we're going to talk about rain gardens, we're going to talk about dry creek bed features, and then we're going to talk about retention ponds. And I'll talk a little bit about rainwater harvesting, but really that is like a whole class on its own. If you want to sign up for a rainwater harvesting class, we have one available right now on our event calendar at SaveTarrantWater.com, and it's only $25, and in the class you get to build your own 50-gallon rain barrel and take it home. So, and if you happen to be, you guys are probably all Fort Worth residents, but it's in Haltom City, and if you happen to be a Haltom City resident, you can get it for free. But for anyone else in Tarrant County, it's $25. So sign up for that if you want. I also gave everyone a rainwater harvesting brochure with more details as well. So I'll go over it a little bit, but there's way more details in rainwater harvesting than I'm going to go over today. All right, so we're going to talk about just some definitions quickly of what these things are. So when I talk about a rain garden, I'm talking about a depression or a channel that is designed to hold water, and it is vegetated. So basically the meaning of this is we want to capture that water, hold it for 24 to 72 hours so that it has time to soak into the soil. We're not moving that water anywhere. We're not conveying it anywhere. There's no pipes underneath or anything. It's just basically a depression full of vegetation that is capturing that water and letting it soak in. Now, when we talk about a bioswale, we're talking about a depression or channel that is vegetated, that is going to convey water. So typically they can have a pipe underneath. They don't always have a pipe underneath. They can have grates or things like that as well. But this is one, you're wanting to move that water somewhere else, right? You're not necessarily wanting it to sit there and soak in. And of course, a little bit does soak in to the ground and everything, and it does hold a little bit of water. But this is something that you're wanting to slow down that water, take it somewhere else, convey it where you want it. Now, when I talk about dry creek beds, these can convey or hold water, but they're not vegetated. So this is just like some rocks that look like exactly what it says. It is a dry creek bed, and then it hydrates and basically turns into a little temporary creek type situation. And so those rocks are, helping slow the water down, letting it infiltrate into the ground. And, the vegetation does a lot for breaking up the soil underneath with its roots, allowing that water to flow into the soil, and then also using its vegetation and its roots and the wonderful microbes associated with those plants to take some of those larger molecules, that fertilizer, pollutants, herbicides, pesticides, all those things like that, and break those down into smaller molecules that can be accessible by the plant and that aren't as dangerous and are no longer these pollutants. But the rocks do that as well. So once you get your rocks going, they will have a biofilm that starts to form around the rocks, and that biofilm will be full of bacteria and other microbes that will do a similar job. Although, of course, it's not going to break up the soil, right? The same that roots will, particularly the roots of native plants, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Okay, and then you've got retention ponds. So this is going to be like a depression that you're collecting water in that is going to be wet for most of the year. So most of us will not have a retention pond unless you have a lot of water on your property or a very large piece of property. But retention pond can be vegetated or not. This one might look familiar because it's just right outside this building, right here. And we'll talk more about the Brit bioswales later in the presentation. And then we've got rainwater harvesting. So these are containers, right? Containers where you're gathering that water so that you can use it at another point in time. You can also, hook filtration systems up to this and use it for drinking water, but most of us use it just for landscaping water. And like I said, definitely, if you want to hear more about rainwater harvesting, look at that brochure that I gave you. There's some over there if you didn't get them. We've got YouTube videos all about rainwater harvesting and about how to build your own barrel. Check out our website. We have some really awesome inspiration of like different ways you can paint your rain barrel to make it beautiful. We're talking about moving it where we want it. Usually a lot of it is going to be coming off of our roofs. And I just want to call out downspouts and gutters because you don't have to have just those boring, like white square gutters, whatever it is, corrugated aluminum or something like that. You can have really cool stuff, and you can make this rainwater system that is not only functional, but a feature, right, in your landscape. And so we like to call kind of this train of different rainwater things a treatment train, right? And so there's these processes that the water is going through in your yard whenever it falls. So maybe it falls off the roof, it goes through your really cool gutter or whatever, and then it goes to like a dry creek bed or something, or maybe it goes into a small rain barrel. And when that rain barrel starts to overflow, that overflows into the dry creek bed that takes it over, and then the end of the dry creek bed is a rain garden that holds the water once it gets to the end of your dry creek bed, right? And so it's going through these processes. You can also do things like put huge boulders or whatever right where the water's coming off of your roof because you're trying to slow down that water, right? And you're trying to stop erosion as well. You don't want it to erode all your soil away when it's coming down really hard in a big rainstorm. And so you can put some rocks down there, slow it down, that type of thing. But you can also do some really cool stuff. Another option is rain chains. So you don't necessarily have to have like a gutter. You can do it can just be a chain, and the water will automatically, go down that chain. But you can also do these cool things. It's like a series of cups kind of that are going down with holes in the bottom, or like with little colander holes in them. So there are really cool things that you can do. It doesn't always have to be just like a boring old, gutter system. We got a cute little like monster thing there that's puking up some chains. I don't know, but you can see over on the right-hand side, I really like that one because you can see, okay, you've got your water going into the rain barrel. Then the rain barrel is going to overflow when it's full, and then it's going to hit those rocks down there and slow down, and you're going to continue with your treatment train. So you don't have to just implement one of these things, right? You can implement many of these things. All right, so I'm going to talk briefly kind of about how you begin to implement these things. So your placement is going to depend on where your water is flowing, and then of course where you want that water to be, right? Whether that's, okay, I'm fine with it being in that place, but I don't want just a muddy hole in my yard, I'm going to dress that up, whatever. Or if you're having real flooding issues like next to your house, of course you want that water to go away from your house and somewhere else in your yard, right? So your placement is going to depend on where that water is. And then the depth of your feature, or your rain garden or your bioswale or whatever, is going to depend on how much water is coming there, right? And so that can require a little bit of calculations, but I mean now is really the perfect time to think about that. So you can think about, okay, right now I'm having some flooding issues, and I'm going to look on the internet and I see that we have gotten whatever it's been, like 5 inches of rain in the past like 2 weeks or something like that, right? And so, okay, 5 inches of rain in the past 2 weeks, my, roof is whatever, 2,000 square foot or something like that, So you do the math, okay, how many gallons are coming off of my roof that I'm trying to capture, or that, that is creating this issue or whatever, So Then you're going to calculate the depth of your thing. Okay, you're like, I want to, whatever. I want to capture 10,000 gallons or something like that, whatever it is. Okay, well, how big does my rain garden need to be? How deep does it need to be? That type of thing. So just do a little basic math to see how big you want it to be. And then the type of feature of all the different types of features that I talked about, that is going to depend on what you want to do as well, right? Do you want to just capture that water? Are you okay with it where it is? Do you need to convey it to another location? Do you need a treatment train of multiple things to take care of all of that water? That type of thing. But they're all going to be, really just go by the same steps, right? You're going to dig your depression wherever you want to capture that water or hold that water. You're going to create a berm, so you're going to take that dirt that you dug out of your depression and you're going to put it on whatever the backside is, basically, right? Like you're creating a dam. You don't want it to like overflow off the other side because it's going too fast and like blow out the other side, basically, and erode things out, right? So you can create a berm to kind of block that up. You're going to add some drainage pipes or grates if you want to do that, if you feel like you have enough volume of water that you need to do that, or if you need to convey it to another location. If you're just doing a rain garden or something like that, you don't need that. You're going to add some type of base substrate, so typically that is something that is, an easily draining substrate, so like gravel, rocks, that type of thing. And then you're going to add whatever your top stuff is, right? So whether you're doing a rain garden, bioswale, you're putting plants in there, you're going to plant it in a substrate, usually just regular soil or soil mixed with some type of compost. And then if you're doing, obviously, the dry creek bed, you're going to put your rocks in there. So we're going to talk a little bit about placement. So first place you might want to put it is just where you've got a muddy mess. So maybe you've got an area where water naturally pools. You're fine with the pooling there, but it doesn't look that great. It's killing your grass. It's a muddy mess, and your dogs run through it, whatever. You can convert that into a beautiful rain garden that is just going to look better, right? So most of this is more of like an aesthetic choice. You've already got the water there. Just make it look nice. Next is going to be at the bottom of a slope. So a lot of us have sloped yards. If you have, your typical lawn on a sloped yard, you've probably seen it whenever it's raining hard and that rain just flows off like a waterfall. I mean, that turf, especially if you've just mowed it, it does not stop much at all. And so again, you're going to keep that water that is falling on your property. It's your water. You want to keep it in your soil. So if you have some type of a slope or something like that, you might want to put like a rain garden or something at the bottom of that slope to catch that water. And pay attention to this picture right here on the left, because I'm going to show you later in a few slides from now. You'll see like kind of the process of that being made, but you can see that those people have a pretty sloped yard and their kind of driveway slopes down as well, and so they've created a rain garden basically all along that driveway and then a larger area at the end of that slope. And you can see, you can build up rocks to slow the water down, right, and like kind of make it stop where you want it to. Another place might be under a downspout or where your downspout drains to. So, if your downspout or your gutter or whatever is already going somewhere, you don't necessarily want that to pool right next to your house if your downspout is just emptying out right next to your house. So pulling it away from your house, giving it a place to go. I really like this photo here at the top. Can you even see my pointer? No, you can't. Hold on. Let me get a little laser thing. No, I got a laser now. There we go. This one right here. So this one's interesting. These people got like basically one of those like long dumpster things, like a storage container, metal storage container, and they routed their gutter out into a pipe and put holes in the pipe and then just planted a garden in there and routed that into a garden. So, I mean, I thought that was a really great idea and a good way to just, make a little vegetable garden, irrigate it or whatever with your water that's coming off of your roof. And this is at TRWD here. So we've got these big parking garages that have, a roof on top. As you can imagine, the water comes off of there crazy. So we just put a whole bunch of rocks down here at the bottom where those gutters come down to just slow that water down and, give it time to soak in before it just goes over to the grass and just goes down the slope there. Some of us have issues where the pavement is draining into our yard. So this is kind of like the opposite of a sloped yard. Like if for some reason the street is higher than your yard, it might be going into it. And it might be an issue where maybe you have a patio or a driveway where you've got water pooling on it, and so you want to create something like a curb cut or something like that to make that water go off of the concrete and into some vegetation, because as you probably know, if water is pooling on top of concrete, it's going to get destroyed. You know, it's going to start cracking year after year, and so you want to get that off of the concrete, or, you know, stop some of that flooding that's happening and take it into a rain garden or a bioswale. And you can see, like here, you've got this fancy curb cut here, and then it goes straight into these rocks right here to slow the water down, and then it dissipates out into all the plants here. This is a classic curb cut here, where it's literally just a cut in the curb to let the water drain out. Another thing you might want is to reroute your water that's gathering in a bad place. Typically a bad place is next to your house. And so you can do various things to make sure that your house is built up more, and wherever that water is going, you know, you make the elevation lower so that it goes to the lower elevation where you want it instead of gathering next to your house. I used to live in a house here in Fort Worth that was built in the 70s, and in the 70s, one thing that was really popular was sunken living rooms. And every time it rained, my living room turned into an indoor swimming pool. And so this is one of the things I had to do because my neighbor's property like drained onto mine on that, you know, side of the house. And so it got really old really fast, and so I had to do something about it. So those are some of the places that you might want to put it, or reasons why you might want to put these features. So looking at the different elements in a bioswale or a rain garden, like I said, you're going to want something that's a well-draining substance down at the bottom, right? You want this water to drain down, get down into the soil. So gravel, sand, it can be soil too. Like if you just have some nice well-draining soil and it's not just your super compact clay soil. I will say that if you want to just create a basic rain garden and you don't have a ton of water coming in, or you're not trying to convey it or anything, you know, planting native plants will break up that clay soil over time. It will add organic matter to that clay soil over time, and it'll make it nice like this. So you don't necessarily really have to do anything to the soil itself unless you really want to, or you feel like it needs to have more drainage. Pipes and grates, like I said, that's optional. That could be a perforated pipe that's just dug under there at the bottom, where, you know, once the water infiltrates down, it goes through the perforations. You could also do something like creating an actual drain or something. And you can mess with the height of that drain, right? So you can, let's say you've got a bioswale that is, you know, 1.5 feet deep or something like that. You only want it to get like 1 foot deep before it starts draining into your grate, into your pipe or whatever. So maybe you can take the capacity of 6 inches to 1 foot. If it only rains that much, great. It can soak in naturally. It doesn't need to go into the pipe. But then if it's a crazy rain event, right, and it gets above that level, it will start going into the pipe. So you can kind of do a combination of things where it's not just instantly draining into the pipe. Planting substrate, like I said, that can really just be regular soil if you want it to be regular soil. Compost is always great to add to soil, particularly to retain water, that type of thing. It's going to keep that water for longer for your plants. And then the filtration, the plants are optional, but native plants are great for this, particularly native grasses. So typically our, you know, regular plants, flowers, forbs, whatever you want to call them, those typically will have like a thicker kind of taproot type thing. Whereas grasses have, and when I talk about grasses, I mean native grasses. I don't mean like turf grass. I mean like this is a tall grass prairie ecosystem that we live in, right? So I'm talking about our large clumping grasses, our native grasses. They have fibrous root systems that are deep, and I mean so deep. And so they will break up your clay soil, and they will make tiny little, you know, channels basically, right, that water can break up and go down into. You can put mulch in there if you like mulch. If you don't like mulch, you don't have to do that. The mulch is going to add, you know, that organic matter to your soil just like the compost will. It'll break up over time, make your make your soil nice. And then rocks, you want to slow that water down. If that water is coming too fast, if you're getting some type of erosion, use rocks to slow it down. Use, meanders. Don't just like do a chute going straight from your house, like right down to your rain garden, like let it meander around. Put some really big boulders where it's coming off your house, and then maybe like smaller rocks as it goes, that type of thing. And so you really want to slow that water down so that you can control it and it doesn't do crazy things. All right, looking at it from the side, this is what your rain garden is going to look like. And this is on your sheet of paper too, if you picked up the flyer there. So just like I said, here's your downspout. Your downspout is coming down. You want it to, go away from your house. You've got your boulders up at the top that's going to slow down that water when it's coming into there. You've got your plants and everything around the sides. A lot of times you'll want to put something like grass or something in the middle part where you've got your most rain and your most water is going to be, so that those fibrous roots can allow it to soak down. And then you're going to put maybe some like flowers and stuff around the outside. But you can really do whatever you want in there. Native plants are going to be the best. I'll talk a little bit more about plant selection later. But here's your layers. So, down at the bottom, maybe some sand or gravel down here. Again, that's optional. Then you're just going to have your regular soil, amended soil if you want, and then you can have your hardwood mulch. So it's basically just like a regular garden bed. You just have a depression in there. Then looking at a bioswale, here's what that looks like from the side. So same thing, same layers, but down here at the bottom you've got a perforated pipe that is going to take that water somewhere else when you get a lot of water. And so that somewhere else is obviously wherever you want it to be. Some people have it, draining out into the street. Some people just are taking it somewhere else to another part of their yard. Maybe at the end of that pipe there is just a giant rain garden that's at the bottom of your property or something like that, and you're just wanting to remove that water to another area that is away from your house. So let's talk about plants. Like I said, these roots are so deep. That's one of the wonderful things about native plants. When we do get water, it's breaking up that soil, letting that water get way deep down in our hard clay soils. Once our soils get hard and dry, it's so difficult for them to rehydrate, especially in these short periods of time if we just get a whole bunch of rain all at once. And so these awesome roots really help with that. Then on the flip side, when it's dry, they're accessing that water that you've stored down in the soil so that you don't have to water them come, the drought that's going to come probably in 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is. So like I said, we got a lot of water now, but y'all know it's coming. So you can do, I'm always gonna recommend native plants. In terms of native plants, you want native plants that are fine with being wet but are also fine with being dry. If you have a rain garden, it's not going to have rain all the time in it. It's going to be dry sometimes, right? That's why these native plants are so good. So you want to steer away from plants that are like native to West Texas, things like cacti and succulents and things like that, right? You don't want dry, deserty type plants. You want plants that are more native to this area or native to East Texas that if their roots are wet for, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time, they're not going to drown, they're not going to die. But then if they're dry for 3 months during the summertime, they're happy with that too. Grasses are, like I said, grasses are key, but native flowers are beautiful too. I do just want to point out, here's our sad turf grass over here. That's its roots compared to all these native plant roots. So we're talking, these are going down, feet underneath the ground. Our turf grass is like 3-4 inches down. I mean, you can see why it's so weak during the summertime, right? Because it really has nowhere to get that wonderful soil moisture from. So you do have on the back of your flyer a list of plants that I'm going to be talking about. So I'm just going to go through a few today. When I talk about grasses, like I said, I'm talking about large clumping style grasses that are our native tall grass prairie grasses. We've got amazing blue stems. We've got bushy blue stem, big blue stem, little blue stem, split beard blue stem, silver blue stem, so many good blue stems. So I definitely recommend the blue stems. Eastern gamma grass, I love this grass. It is huge. It will get like 8 feet tall. And I absolutely love it. It's a eastern grass, just as much as you can imagine, because it's called eastern gamma grass. And it has a really beautiful flower. I mean, grasses usually don't have the most beautiful flowers, right? But this one, they look really good. Switchgrass is great for water. Inland sea oats is good if you have a shady area. And that's a lower growing grass too. It's not these crazy, 6, 7, 8 foot tall grasses. Bushy blue stem is really the best out of all of those though in terms of a rain garden because it likes to be wet. You can put some bushes in there too. There's some that really like being wet. I wouldn't put necessarily a bush like in the middle of your rain garden, but towards the outside, a little bit higher up is good. Some of these like to be wet though, like the button bush, man, loves to be wet. These things can get huge. This is the flower right here, center bottom, and the pollinators love it. I mean, you'll have one of these button bushes, it'll grow like, I don't even know what, 7 feet tall, and it will literally have like thousands of pollinators on it at once, and like hundreds of these little flowers. And so if you're looking for something that attracts pollinators, I love the button bush. Turk's cap is great because it likes anything. It likes it wet, it likes it dry, it likes full sun, it likes full shade. It just likes to live, So you can never go wrong with Turk's cap. It's also got the tubular red flowers, so it attracts hummingbirds. So if you're looking for something that attracts hummingbirds, it's great. We do have some hibiscuses. So if you like the look of hibiscus, beautiful flower, Texas star, hibiscus, right? And like I said, they have taken those grates and they're at different levels depending on how much water they want to keep in each of their bioswales. So some of them are flush with the ground, like this. So as soon as that starts filling, as soon as we start getting any standing water in there, that's going to go down in there. But then some of them are up a little bit higher so that, the water waits a little while before it starts to drain down to our retention pond. And so there's pipes under the ground. Those pipes lead to this retention pond that is right down here, and that's where the water is held until they're ready to pump it out for irrigation. And each bioswale has different plants because there's a different amount of shade, there's a different amount of water that they're planning to capture that is going to fit in there, and there's a different velocity of water that is coming into it, right? So the thicker the vegetation is, the more it's going to slow down that water. So where you've got a higher flow of water, you're going to want that thicker vegetation. So I'm starting up here at the top next to this gate over here. That one is really shady, so we got a lot of mistflower, we got columbine, we got inland sea oats, least amount of water that is going to be kept up there because that's at the top in terms of elevation. Next, you've got a little bit thicker vegetation, but not quite as much. And then, so this is where that clover is, that water clover that I talked about that I like. It's down there. They've got some little blue stem. There's some Maximilian sunflower and some mulch. Moving further down, you're starting to see some of these like larger rocks. You're starting to see some of the grates. You're starting to see a larger depression in there to hold more water. They're having a little bit more water-liking plants, right? So things like hibiscus, the Linheimer's muley, moonflower, that type of thing in there. Coming down further, you've got even more rocks, right? More boulders to slow that stuff down. Then we're getting big blue stem, buttonbush, flame acanthus in there. Then we're getting down where you're getting a lot of water, a bigger water flow. So you'll see way thicker vegetation in these down here. So there's a lot more Indian grass, switchgrass, eastern gamma grass, this thick vegetation that is going to slow that water down and soak it up. And then our last one down here is the biggest one. And so you'll see it's like mowed around the outside, but then that center part where they expect more water to be held, it is super thick vegetation, and you've got some larger stuff in there. So, like I said, definitely go out there and look at those. You can see how they're working out there and see the differences between each of them. There might even be some water sitting in some of them still. I don't know. We've gotten a lot of rain, so there could be. And then another place you can visit is the TRWD landscape. So over at the TRWD offices, we have all of this stuff. We call it our rainscapes. We call it green stormwater infrastructure, or GSI. Some people hear it or call it a blue-green infrastructure. Those are all pretty much the same thing, but we are over on Northside Drive, over by the stockyards, and our campus is open to the public, like 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, like regular government office hours, that type of thing. But you're welcome to go and walk around. If you come to our front desk and just tell them that you want to do like a self-guided tour, they'll give you a little packet of information with a little folder and everything. And you can go and see everything. So here's what our area looks like. We've got 3 different buildings there, and you can see that we've got kind of like 2 different directions that our stormwater is flowing in. And so we have, like I said, treatment trains, right, that are bringing that stormwater and then ending in a retention pond on one side and a wetland on the other side. And as you can see, we're right next to the Trinity River. And we're also in a pretty industrial area with a lot of concrete, and so we really want to make sure that water is treated before it flows into the Trinity River, because we don't want all of that just like gunk from the roadways, oil and gas and whatever nasty stuff, to flow right into our beautiful Trinity River. So we've got a demonstration garden there. We've got some of that permeable concrete as well. We also have some other permeable areas, so like gravel and things like that, where you can kind of see some different types of landscaping and how that might look in your yard. All native landscaping, all drought-tolerant landscaping, but also with these rain gardens. So we do have bioswales. This is what some of our bioswales look like. They go into our dry creek beds there that go down to our wetland on that side of the campus. We've got tons of dry creek beds on the other side. At the taller areas, there's no pipe underneath. But then when we get lower in vegetation, we've got that higher depth of water or a higher load of water. Then we start putting pipes underneath, and we have those perforated pipes underneath that are flowing down underneath these dry creek beds and eventually end at our retention pond on that section. So here's our retention pond. I call it a retention pond. It's kind of more of like a bioswale, because it's not really, like during the middle of the summer it does dry out sometimes. So I mean, it doesn't always have water in it, but for the most part it does. We've got, like I said, rocks around the outside, and then you've got vegetation on the inside. A lot of times we'll cut down that vegetation so it's not quite as deep in terms of like the thickness of the vegetation. And when that happens, when we have standing water, we have a lot of cute ducks and things like that that come and lay their eggs and make their babies over there. So we love seeing that. And we've got these awesome rainwater harvesting systems. So this is one of our buildings that's LEED certified. All of the roofs are covered in solar panels, and those solar panels all drain to our giant rainwater harvesting systems. We capture that, and then we use it to irrigate on that side of the campus. And then on that side of the campus, everything flows down into our wetland system. And so this is our newest feature that we're really proud of. We built this wetland. The industrial areas behind us, it really is just all concrete around us. And they were having a lot of flooding issues where if it rained a lot during the middle of the day, their parking lots would flood, and like people couldn't get home from work because they were like flooded into the parking lot. There was also a lot of just like trash and nasty stuff just flowing off of those. And so we wanted to make sure to capture that and treat it a little bit. So we have a little kind of trickle stream that goes down in the middle. Then there are 3 pools that are deeper that we keep water in. And we have awesome stuff over there. Like we've got some bat boxes and some owl boxes. And we keep the little mosquito fish in there so that they eat all the mosquitoes, and we don't have any issues with that. But it's absolutely beautiful whenever it's blooming and everything. And not only that, but the wonderful, beautiful city of Fort Worth gives us a credit on our stormwater fees because we are treating and retaining our stormwater on our own property, and they don't have to deal with it with their stormwater system. That's right. So they give us. Yes.
You should say that all commercial customers
Absolutely.
are eligible for a wastewater credit program.
Yeah.
We just signed up. We're signing up TX Whiskey right now.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad to hear that others are taking advantage of it. Right. Maybe a little bit more exciting than TRWD, you know. But yeah, so it's great that we get some type of, you know, a little pat on the back and a little bit less money that we have to spend for having this type of thing on there. And of course, we get, you know, it's environmentally friendly. So those are our demonstration landscapes. Like I said, come by and see us. We'd love to see you walking around our campus and, you know, taking a look at all the cool stuff that we have out there. And then that's all I have for you. I'll be happy to answer any questions if anybody have questions or you got something?
Before you take questions, I ask
Sure.
a favor the live demo got cut off right as we were going through the pretty pictures of your examples.
Oh, yeah.
Would you mind
You want to go back?
to some of the plants slides? You don't even have to spend that much time, but just so those people can get a screenshot of those slides and save it for later.
Which
the
ones?
plants And then the examples too. I'm so sorry. That's right. Of course, the highlight is when it cut off.
I know the prettiest part. Like these example photos here.
Go back to the list of plants that were
Yeah.
suggested to-
Right before that?
Yep.
Okay,
I'm so
I'll start
sorry
at the beginning.
we're too much time. I'm so sorry to interrupt the questions. but
Sure.
Make sure online viewers get to see that.
So, grasses, beautiful grasses.
Do you know which ones those 4 are?
Sure, I can tell you what those are. This one down here is going to be a little blue stem. That one is a Linheimer's Muley that is here. The next one over, let me point with my little thingy. Then this is going to be an Indian grass right here, and then this one right here is your Eastern Gamma grass. So muleys are great too. I don't list them on here, but Linheimer's Muley or Gulf Muley are excellent examples for grasses as well. Gulf Muley, some people call it pink muley as well. It has those beautiful pink, like feather-like blooms that you see. And grasses are cool too because they are typically blooming during the fall time, and so you get kind of some of that, you know, fall interest or whatever when maybe some of your flowers aren't doing their thing. Bushes, we've got our button bush. Like I said, button bush is definitely the one I recommend. Turk's cap is awesome too, always with the Turk's cap. Hibiscus if you like it. Flowering perennials, there's tons of different ones. I'm just highlighting a few. I mean, literally, you could have a billion of those. Ground covers, some good ground covers if you want something like that. The one thing I will say about ground covers is you want those in a place where you want the water to soak in, but the water's already been slowed down, right? These ground covers aren't going to slow down water that much. So you want your grasses and stuff right there where all that water's coming in fast, and then where it's already kind of still and you just want it soaking in. That's where you get to the ground cover. And here's the beautiful sedge that was spoken about earlier. So looks like a grass, but not a grass. And then here's some of those awesome examples here. And there's so many great examples. I mean, just go on Google or whatever and do an image search for rain gardens or something like that. There's so many good examples of different things. I'll leave that one up. Okay.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Yeah, no problem. All right, any questions? No? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. You got a question?
Do you have any recommendations for people who could come out and design this? Do you have a list of people that you are certified?
Sure. So we do on safetarrantwater.com. Go check out our green professionals list. So that is a list of people in the landscaping industry who have gone through our classes that we partner with Texas A&M AgriLife on. And you can search by specialty. Different landscapers have different specialties, and so there'll be some that specialize in this type of thing. And yeah, look for things that say some of those keywords, green stormwater infrastructure, rain gardens, bioswales, blue-green infrastructure. That's another way to say it. So just look for some of those, keywords. Question back there in the back somewhere? Yeah.
I don't know if this is a PowerPoint. Would it be available? Can you send it out to us?
If I send it to you, Kelsey, can you send it to them?
Oh, we would love that. And if not, this whole thing will also go on YouTube. We'll put the two, now
Yeah.
it's 2 sessions. I'll have John Michael edit it into one. This will be on YouTube within the week. So,
Yeah.
so it'll be available on YouTube. And then if Heather wants to, if you're okay with that,
Yeah.
we can absolutely get that out to customers too.
No, yeah, I can definitely do that. Yeah, and we've got it, I think, this presentation or something similar is on our YouTube as well if you search for Safe Tarrant Water. But if you don't want to go through the whole thing, yeah. Kelsey, if you'll send me an email next week and remind me so that I can send it to you, then she'll send it out to all of you folks. In the back?
Yeah, if we've already got like the horse herb in another part of the yard,
Mm-hmm.
does it transplant pretty readily?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just dig some up and put it,
Come up and let it spread out.
Yeah, it'll spread pretty easily. Yep.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If we have to have some lawn grass, is there a kind that you recommend for this area more than others?
Sure. So our native turf grass is buffalo grass. It's going to use about 1/3 of the water that your typical St. Augustine will. It does like full sun. So, if it's a shady area, it's probably not going to work. But it likes it hot, and it likes it dry, and it likes it sunny. And it has a really great foot feel. If you like to walk around, barefoot in your grass, it has a really nice, thin blade that isn't as thick and harsh as St. Augustine is. Zoysia, yeah. So zoysia is kind of like in the middle. It's not native, but it is going to be like lower water use and a little bit more tolerant than like something like St. Augustine or something like that is going to be. And there are different, I didn't mention it, but if you go out to our TRWD demonstration garden, AgriLife is there right now. I mean, not like right now, but they're running trials out there. And so that you'll see there's different types of turf grass where, you know, AgriLife will like create these types of turf grass that are like supposed to be more water efficient or more like pest resistant or that type of thing. And so you can see some of those out there. Some of those are zoysia. So yeah, zoysia is an okay compromise. I'll call it that. Over here. Oh, you? Yeah?
I just wanted to say, my kids grew up in a house with horse herd in the backyard. I had 2 children running around in it all the time, and it was fine.
Yeah. It's a really great turf alternative. Yeah, horse herb is an excellent turf alternative, particularly if you have like shade. It's great in shade, but it's good in full sun too. It spreads well. It looks nice. Pollinators love it.
It has beautiful little yellow flowers.
Yeah. Horse herb. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We bought a house that came with this section that's boxed in by the house, the driveway and sidewalk,
Mm-hmm.
that does all of this drain pulling that the previous owners had filled with holly bushes. And it sounds like I need to just pull up those holly bushes, or most of them, and
Yeah.
put something else better in.
That would probably be your best bet. They're hard to pull up though, man.
As someone who did it last year, Heidi, you can do it. And if you need a hand, I'll volunteer my husband. That was the best part.
Your poor husband.
My other thing is last year is he ripped out all of the builder grade plants. And
Yeah.
our hollies, which refuse to die, but they're pretty much.
Well, you know, they're beautiful. They have these beautiful red berries every
Yeah, the red berries are pretty.
It doesn't seem like it's the right place for them.
Yeah, a lot of times the builders, you know, they put in kind of the cheapest thing and the easiest thing.
Well, this house was built in '49, so I
Oh,
think
yeah.
the owners who put it in.
Oh yeah, definitely. And a lot of us, you know, there's a lot of new development out there, and you know, there can be flooding issues, localized flooding issues, and unfortunately, once the developer, you know, turns it over to you as the homeowner, if your property is flowing, you know, water onto your neighbor's property and flooding their property, it's on you. Like, it's a civil dispute at that point, and it's your responsibility to do something with that. So, you know, yeah.
So I'm new to all the gardening home ownership.
Great, welcome.
I have French drains, and I was like, oh, that's like, no, it isn't. So will you clarify, is the drain just to let the water go and not flood? And
Yeah.
just kind of recycling or using the water?
Sure. So what I would recommend is just using that drain to convey the water somewhere else on your property that is okay for it to go, right? And create these treatment trains to where it goes to like a rain garden or something like that, rather than it just flowing into the street and flowing straight into Fort Worth storm drains, right? And so a lot of us do have French drains, and it is kind of unfortunate. It's better to have something more natural if we possibly can. And again, it's our water, right? And we want to keep it on our property and not just, you know, let it be relinquished to the street or whatever and gather whatever pollutants are out there in the street. And so definitely, you know, if you need to convey water to a different spot, because it's gathering in a bad place, that's fine, but try to convey it to a different spot that is on your property where you can take care of it rather than just like putting it onto the next property or putting it into the street or whatever. Yeah.
There are green professionals, because we did it. You can find on Tarrant's website.
Yeah.
And the green professionals can actually tap your French drains and reroute, help you put in PVC connections to move them at other low spots. Now again, that depends on the grade of your home. So
Yeah.
it only worked on half of one side of the house, but that is an option where you can. I personally don't recommend trying it on your own. We needed some help, and we're pretty
Yep.
needy folks at our house. But if you get one of the TRWD green professionals who can work with French drains, they might be able to help you reroute it to a garden on top before it got to the street, and it worked great. So it's
Yeah.
an option.
Yeah, and if you have like a super sloped lawn, it might just be where you're rerouting it to like a rain garden that's at the, you know, the edge of your property or whatever, you know, and creating that depression down there so that you can capture that rainwater in a different area and create a nice little feature.
Thank you.
Hmm. Yeah.
You mentioned water, like from the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Our yard, we get a lot of water from the street that comes down to our house, and then
Yeah.
we have a hill that goes to the Brazos River, and our neighbors' water comes underneath our fence and into our yard and washes out our yard, and they have gutters, and I went and I asked them if they could maybe direct it towards the middle of their yard or somehow, if it's not all coming over, but they haven't done anything, so I don't know how to keep that from coming,
Yeah.
putting up a rock wall, and it would probably go underneath it.
Yeah, a lot of times, I mean, when there is water, especially a lot of water coming into your property, like there's really not a lot that you can do about it once it's on your property, except for, reroute it to where you want it or create some type of depression or something like that. So that would be, at that point, that is their responsibility, right, to make sure that their water isn't coming on to your area. So that is something that you can address with them. Like I said, it is a civil matter, and whether you're on one side of it or the other, you can, if your water is going onto your neighbor's property, you could potentially get sued for doing that, So you could potentially sue them if you want, but I wouldn't recommend it, try to do something nice, and maybe you can create a treatment train together, right? And say, okay, can you guys create like some bioswale over here on your side, and then on your side you also have some type of rain garden or something where that water has a nice place for it to go. Because that's the thing, we're developing all of this previously, native land, and that water has to go somewhere where previously it had its own little, creeks that it goes into. It's going through these beautiful prairie grasses, it's soaking in, and then we're just putting concrete on top, and the water's got to go somewhere, Okay. Any other questions? You got one?
Yes, I do. You mentioned you have a water a feature off your water storage area. You have that. So how did you develop that, or do you have any other? I didn't see any pictures or.
Sure. I don't know which one that was on. Let me see.
Because that's actually what I'm doing in my area. I've put 2 stormwater collection containers, but they overflow and it winds up going between my houses, and I'm trying to figure out, that's an area where we'll walk, and so it winds up being a muddy mess, and I'm trying to build a path that's usable but still pretty or whatever.
So this picture kind of exemplifies what I'm talking about. I mean, this is more stylized. Mine's not this like rustic looking or whatever, but so I've got my rain barrel. My water comes off the roof. I don't even have gutters, so this is just like the corner of my roof where it comes out in a crazy waterfall, basically, right? I put my rain barrel underneath there. It captures the rain. Then it starts overflowing out the top, basically, and it has a little spout kind of exactly like that where it overflows. So on the other side of that, I've got rocks at the bottom to start slowing that down, and then it's just captured in kind of a depression about this big or so, and then I've got a little dugout space that is maybe about this big by this big, and it meanders through all of my tomato garden and everything, basically. So yeah, and I think there was another photo in here, I don't remember which slide it was on, but you can fill that with pebbles too, like if you don't want it to just be bare soil, but yeah, you can just kind of, and like it does try to overflow sometimes the other way, and I just take the soil and dig it out and build up like a berm on the side where it's trying to overflow where I don't want it to, so that I make sure that it goes, in the area where I want it to, and my little meandering path kind of gets, slightly, lower in elevation as it goes to kind of, encourage it to go, to go where it wants, but I make sure to meander it so it kind of slows down a little bit, and it's not like breaking down the walls of my little, irrigation stream or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, as long as you've got those rocks there, like fairly big rocks to kind of slow it down, usually I don't have many like erosion issues. Yeah. Yeah.
Rain barrels, are they mosquito breeders?
No, so our rain barrels that we use are completely enclosed and have a mosquito like mesh on them, so only water can go in, because you don't really want all kinds of you don't really want it to be just open, because like leaves and stuff will get in there anyways, right? And so You just want like a small mesh so that mosquitoes can't get down in there. But some people like an open rain barrel, like you see here. This is more like an open top one. Some people like to like dip a water thing down in there, whatever. That's fine. You can just use mosquito dunks in that case, you know, and just put the little mosquito dunks in there. It doesn't hurt your plants or anything like that. It's a microbe that, you know, kills the mosquito larva. So, but most of the time, most of the ones that you will buy in stores are completely enclosed systems, and so they'll never get in there, like to begin with. Yeah. Back in back.
On that subject, I just read yesterday that at the beginning of every summer, somebody buys like goldfish and puts it into their rain barrel.
Oh.
And eats the stuff so that the mosquitoes, you know, don't hatch.
Yeah, and that's.
Heard of that? Like I wanted to research that more.
Yeah.
I like that idea instead of.
I mean, as long as they don't like overflow out whenever there's a lot of water coming in. Yeah, we don't want them to get out of their, you know, container. You make sure they stay fed, you know, when they're like.
And it said that they like stay fed because there's constantly.
Right, there's stuff in there.
Stuff growing in there. And
Yeah.
like somebody just said.
And you could too, like, you know, I talk about. Right, some type of little fish, yeah. And I talk about retention ponds. I mean, you can make it like a small retention pond too, right? Like a decorative type of pond thing. And a lot of people have that type of thing, right? Like goldfish or some type of other little easy little fish that can easily be in there, don't need the aeration because, you know, there's different types of fish. Some fish have an organ called a labyrinth, and that is where they can actually suck air from the top of the thing and don't need like aeration or whatever. But you can also aerate things, right? Like you can get a little battery powered or electric pump that will just pump oxygen into the water, and that will help with the fish if you do want to have fish, but it also helps with the mosquitoes if you have a mosquito issue. Yeah, might be a good little feature as long as you treat the fish nicely. All right, anybody else? Oh, you got another one over there?
I was just gonna say we had problems with mosquitoes going up through the drain pipe of our rain barrel.
Oh, really?
My husband took a pair of run pantyhose from one of our daughters and just
Oh, and put it over there?
rubber band that over the downspout.
There you go. Pantyhose are great.
If you're interested in fish, I don't know if anybody's heard of the island called Saba down in the Caribbean. It has no potable water on it, so all of their water comes from rain.
Mm-hmm. No, I haven't heard of that.
And my brother-in-law lived there for a while, and they had guppies in their cistern underneath their house that prevented the mosquitoes.
There you go. Yeah, so guppies. I know like in our wetland, we have little fish that are actually called like mosquito fish. I mean, that's their common name. I don't know what their, scientific name are, but there are definitely little fish that you can get that will eat those. And then of course there are other things too, right? Like dragonflies are great for mosquitoes and other, bats and other natural control. Right?
Well, they had all kinds of methods for double and triple use of potable water before it went down the drain.
Yeah.
Their only source was rain.
Yeah, that's really neat. That's great. Yeah, and these things obviously you can use it to water your landscape. And I will say for most of us and for the amount of water that we do get, even if you have like a complete St. Augustine lawn, which is like a super high water use lawn, if you are capturing every bit of water that comes off of your roof, you can water your whole lawn with the rainwater, with rainwater harvesting. You would just have to have a pretty big cistern to make sure that you get, capture all of that and everything. But a lot of water can be had from a roof, definitely. Got back in the back?
So your tomatoes are also getting rained on, right?
Yeah, they're getting rained on too.
So how do they not end up with too much water?
I don't know. I've never had that issue.
Okay.
We'll see this year. I mean, they've gotten a lot of rain definitely recently, but no, I mean, I've got pretty, I guess, good draining soil, so it soaks in. Once it goes through its little irrigation thing, it doesn't really like hold water that much, and it soaks in and everything. And no, I've never had any issues with that. And I grow other stuff in there too besides tomatoes. Like I've got a lot of datura in there as well because the datura is, also in the nightshade family, and so it makes all of the tomato hornworms go over to it instead of getting on my tomatoes. And so, but it's a pretty drought tolerant plant, and I never have any issues like with it getting too wet or anything. So it must be pretty good, good draining soil. Yeah. Okay, back in the back.
The datura in the bed with the tomatoes or close by?
Yeah, right there with the tomatoes. Yep. I've got a big datura in the middle, and then it's like surrounded by tomatoes, basically. It's moonflower, Datura rhytii. It is a native plant, and they make these big, beautiful white flowers that only bloom at night. And they just bloom once, one night, and then as soon as the sun hits them, they go away. Great for bats and moths and stuff. But yeah, they're also in the nightshade family, just like tomatoes. And so the tomato hornworms will go, and like the moths will lay their eggs on those instead, and will steer clear of my tomato plants, so that I don't have to worry about the hornworms coming and cutting my poor tomato plants down. So yeah, it's a great little natural deterrent that you can put there. That is also beautiful and native, drought tolerant. I don't have to like water them or anything like that. They do their thing. Although they will like spread, so I have to dig them up from time to time to make sure I still have space for all of my tomatoes. But then I just go put them in my other tomato bed or like somewhere else, and somewhere else in my landscape or whatever, or give them to a friend.
Have they grown back from seed, or are they growing back from, aren't they perennial? Or?
They are perennial, and they're grown from seed. Yeah, I let my seed just drop. Some people cut off their flowers so they don't have that issue, so you can totally do that if you want. You can just cut off the flowers, and then they'll never make seed to begin with. But yeah, I just let them go through their natural process, so then I get little seedlings, and I just like dig them up when they're babies and like put them in a pot or whatever. Yep. Okay. Is that it? Okay, thank you. Thank you all. And everybody make sure to get stuff from the table over there. It looks like there's plenty of stuff left. So if you didn't get anything, yes.